Hello, everyone. So exciting to be back to the second DynamicsCon event of the year. We are going to be talking about Azure for Dynamics Consultant today. Why Azure? What Azure has to do with Dynamics consultants or professionals? That's what going to be our conversation in the next 50 minutes or so. But before we talk about all these interesting stuff, two good things. We would like to have conversation with you. So there's a chat window around here. Please do put your comments, questions in there, and after, we'll try to finish early, and we'll make sure we go to that window and see your comments and questions and continue the conversation there. And secondly, I would like to introduce you to my co-host, my friend and dynamics expert, Mohammed today. Mohammed.
Hey guys, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and I hopefully feel that everyone is safe and sound. Here they are. It's pretty excited that we are back again with DynamosCon, uh, and I'm looking forward to add some more knowledge and share my experience with you guys. And it's a great pleasure to work again on this time with my fellow ex-colleague Ali Khan, and it's really good to be proceeding with it. So the today topic is pretty much on Azure, as you have seen, and we will be moving ahead with discussing why we feel Azure is mandatory for everyone to learn about. Here are, so over to you, Ali.
Thanks, Mohammed. And let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Ali. I live in the beautiful city of Sydney. I'm Dynamics Specialist Lead in Valrada, and we design and develop solutions on Dynamics, Power Platform, and Azure. And both I and Mohammed, we share our learnings, experiences, discoveries while working on these solutions, developing new things on our websites and Twitter and LinkedIn. So we will continue the conversation on the chat after this talk. And after that, we can continue conversations in other channels as well. And I would also like to mention, actually, thank you guys for voting for this talk. And I also would like to thank the event organizers for bringing us back to have these conversations. All righty, so let's talk about elephant in the room. Why Azure? We as Dynamics professionals are already getting so many updates, so many amazing things every few weeks or months. Every Dynamics product is going through this rapid evolution and enhancements and innovations. You're seeing new features, new functions, whatever used to be the old classical way or legacy way of doing things, they're all getting changed. And then we're getting all the good things from the Power Platform world. We're getting all those amazing new features, new ways of creating apps, and this is indirectly modernizing our Dynamics applications, right? So why Azure? Well, this is where first thing I would say, this is a totally valid question. This is where both Mohammed and I were discussing this before the talk, and this is when we started working on Azure. There was the same thing which is on top of our head, that should we go in that direction? And this is so let's address this first of all, right? And I'll start addressing this. I'll start answering this with an analogy. So, see, we are solution developers, right? So, but for a second, imagine that you are a top-notch chef, you're an expert chef in some amazing restaurant. And this restaurant is known for all the amazing dishes and whatever cuisine you like. And you, being the master chef, you know your stuff. You know how to cook good dishes. You also know your way in pantry. So you know which ingredient I need to pick up to make something. And you also know the tools. So you know which tool I'm going to be using. And with a combination of this knowledge and expertise and experience, you're able to come up with all these amazing dishes. And your customers, they come to this restaurant because of you, right? So this is an amazing place to be, right? So you love doing this, you're passionate about it, and you know your stuff as well. Now, imagine one day a mate comes to and she tells you that, hey, this is not the only pantry that you can go for picking up ingredients. You know, there are tens or hundreds out there as well. So there's so much other stuff as well, which you can basically just go and get it and use in your dishes. And there are also a lot of amazing tools out there. There's not just one kitchen. There are hundreds of kitchen out there. You just haven't explored them. So just go and pick up anything. Now, isn't it whatever we develop, whatever we make, whatever we cook, in the end, it comes down to Of course, it depends on your expertise and experience. That's all of that is there. But again, at the end, at the core, we are dependent on what tools we have and what ingredients we have, right? What products we have. So see what I did there? If you have access to more and more amazing things outside, but not really outside Dynamics world, what would be our response? Our response would be, sure, why not? Because this is what we do. We, as Dynamics professionals, developers, programmers, consultants, architects, we love to talk to our customers. We go and talk to them. We try to understand their problems. We try to understand how their business runs, how their business functions, what are their core business processes, what are business rules, and then what are the tools that they're using. And then we go back to drawing board and or whiteboard, and we try to come up with a solution. And for coming up with that solution, we just not want to just solve the problem. You want to solve the problem in the most optimal way. And therefore, in order to do that, if we get our hands on some amazing tools and products, even if though if they're not part of the Dynamics heading, but they are there and can be used, then we will love to use them. So that's where Azure comes in. That's the basic fundamental premise of using Azure, because it can let you to get access to so many amazing things which are just out there and can be used in conjunction with Dynamics. And there are other reasons as well. So if we put the 60 more reasons there as well. And so I'll start talking about this with the first thing, which is a fact, but it's a very recent kind of fact. So in last, I think, 2 or 3 years, most of the projects that we do now, they are not called Dynamics CRM project or sales project or supply chain projects. They are just hybrid solutions. They are customer engagement solutions. They are sales engagement solutions. They are sales enablement solutions, etc. And the reason of this is not the change of language, not the change of jargon. It's just depicting a fact. You do not just put Dynamics in there. You also get Canvas apps to work on your applications and solutions. You also got Power Automate in there. In some amazing solutions, we also use AI Builder. We also use PVA. So our solutions are more and more hybrid. And then secondly, when we build solutions, it's not that we build it, deliver it, and buy, right? It's not like that. We know that with the Dataverse and Power Apps and Dynamics, there were going to be a lot of enhancements and future improvements. And business users will do those things. So citizen developers will build upon the solutions that we have built. So we need to make our solutions which should be scalable and interoperable in terms of data and process. It should run for the long term, even on the applications on which we do not know what the applications are going to be. And then we want our solutions to be low maintenance. So they should be designed well. They should be using all those parts, components, which can be used across different kinds of solutions and data, right? So this is all about solution, right? So does Azure give us those all these things? Yes. The quick answer is yes. Azure does and actually provides all these, ticks all the boxes. You can use Azure as part of your hybrid solutions because anyway, our solutions are hybrid. It's scalable, it's interoperable, it's low maintenance because it's all in cloud. So it's by definition scalable and has low maintenance cost. And it shares the same DNA, even it can be argued that a lot of functionalities and features of Dynamics actually used Azure in the backend. We know about Blob. We know about things which are run as a processes runs on top of Azure. So all those things are there as well. And then one of the amazing thing about Azure, which I want to share with you, when I started working on Azure, I didn't have a clue about it. And that was the fact that there's so many things in the world of Azure which are no or low code. I thought they all require some complex programming skills. You have to got to be, expert. You should have, I don't know, a dozens of certifications before you touch that. That's not true. There's so many things out there which are just can be used as a low code, no code solution, similar to what we do in Power Platform world. And lastly, when you talk about bigger implementations, talking to customers on their end-to-end journey across the length and breadth of solutions, really complex stuff, it's not possible every time that you can put Dynamics as a solution in every place, right? That's why we create Power Apps. But we still make those Power Apps like Canvas apps to talk to the same Dataverse, because in the end, Dataverse is that shared data service layer. Same thing Azure can do as well. So Azure can actually help in its end-to-end digitization, bringing in all those complex capabilities and enablements and all those amazing things while still talking to the same database layer, the same dataverse layer, and using the same processing engine as well. So it basically really ticks off all the boxes in terms of the reasons of using Azure. Mohammed, you were also mentioning some other reason, few other reasons for using Azure.
Exactly. Thanks, Ali, for pointing it out. One of the things that we see in Azure is the scalability, and to see the enormous power that we can get our hands on when it comes to performing mass operations. I'm not saying that D365 applications are not uh, designed for that, but obviously when you are a customer that is looking for some data migration, data minings, and or some data analytics, or a good AI based solution, then it's Azure that we feel is the go-to area for you. And with the introduction of containers and new concepts, these maintenance of individual applications is now much more easy and scalable. So in short, Azure gives you power, Azure gives you low maintenance costs, it gives you the option to pay as you go. So I think it's a win-win combination if we try to implement it with our D365 business application. So that's my take on that. Over to you, Ali.
Cool. So that's great. So I guess we are all convinced on exploring Azure and trying to get to know more about it. And this is a quick peek view. So these are some of the products that we have mentioned, and we're going to talk about it. But there are dozens of more out there as well. So I think starting to start this conversation, go and explore Azure. And there's so many good things about there which we can use in our Dynamics solutions. Now, next, what we are going to be doing, we are going to be sharing a cheat sheet today. So this mega Azure cheat sheet is going to be the crux of this conversation today. So we are Dynamics people. We know our Dynamics solutions. There are so many amazing things happens out there in Dynamics events. Twice a year, we get those major big release, but there's small release as well, which keeps coming our way. And we know that if we understand what each function is doing, then we can go and explore. So this cheat sheet is meant to do the same thing. You bring a solution, cheat sheet will suggest a solution for that problem, and then you can start using it or explore it further. So, and in the end, we also have got a bonus cheat sheet tip in the end as well. All right, so are you ready for this? Let's start the conversation on cheat sheet. All righty, the first thing first, what do you want to do? Um, if you want to develop a D365 solution and you're integrating with another application or a tool or database or any data store, and you want to do this as part of a workflow, like imagine you're creating a customer and then you're creating an opportunity, and as part of an opportunity, something needs to happen in some other system, a third-party system, and then the data should come back. The solution for that is Logic App. What is Logic App? Well, Logic App is similar to Power Automate, but much more powerful. Power Automate sort of also runs on top of Logic App. So it has a very similar structure. If you have worked on Power Automate flows, it's a similar structure where you go and pick up a trigger, and then you've got all the actions, and actions go down in this similar fashion, and then based on these actions, you can put conditions. So all of that in terms of user interface is very similar. The Logic App is much more powerful in the sense that it has got a different model, performance model, payment model, licensing model, and there's other benefits out there as well in terms of how you can use actually the Logic Apps as a code. Not just as a cloud element. And a Logic App also lets you to do the integrations. So because of those hundreds and hundreds of connectors, you can actually go and talk to any service or application out there, and then you can link that back to your Dynamics process. So I guess the rule of thumb is if it's the process and if it's integration, do explore Logic App. It's really amazing, and at least I can speak for myself that in the last 2 years or so, every other project, every other major Dynamics project has a Logic App. It's like an essential component. In terms of if you want to explore more, for me, the best solution was to go with Microsoft Documentation and Learn. They also have got amazing samples in there, so start with samples. Let's go to second one. All right, what are you doing now? If you are looking for an enterprise integration bus to design your integration platform. Like imagine you got Dynamics, and then you also got SAP, and you also got Maximo, and let's also put some third-party tool out there as well. Now all of these need to talk to each other. Actually, if let's say if you and you create an asset in Dynamics, this asset, this information about asset creation and what was the asset's name and asset category, etc., that needs to go to 5 other systems. Now, how are you going to solve the problem? Usually, this problem is solved by having an enterprise service bus. So what happens is this pattern is called publisher subscriber, and what happens is you put this event, the information about event that a new asset is created, you put this on a bus, and then all the other systems come and pick that up. Do we have a solution for that in Azure? The answer is yes. We have got Azure Service Bus. So Azure Service Bus is an immensely powerful Azure Service solution, integration solution. It's used in every other integration implementation, I'd say. It has got a lot of amazing functions. So it, of course, does what we just talked about. It has got the messaging queue. You can have different messaging queues for different kinds of systems talking to each other. You can also have topics. So asset creation is a topic, asset update is a topic, customer is a topic. You can have different topics, and based on that, you can have different listeners to it, which can other system which can listen to the event and then do some other things. It actually basically helps us solve the problem of all the system talking to each other. You do not want a lot of point-to-point connections, right? Otherwise, there'll be so many connections, there will be so much data traffic going on. So Azure Service Bus basically solves that problem. And you know the greatest thing about this one, Azure Service Bus, you can write to it and listen to it using Logic apps as well as Power Automate flows. So it's really easy and really cool to use it with Dynamics solutions. All right, let's move further and talk about something more exciting, IoT. All right, so IoT is, we all know it's no more a buzzword, right? It's actually real, just like AI, just like AI Builder that we're very familiar with. So IoT solution, imagine that you're looking for a SaaS solution and you actually want to integrate with IoT devices like air conditioners and generators and motors, and they're sending all these signals, and you want to consume that data. And let's say you as a company, you provide services to those air conditioners, and if they are faulty or they're not working, then you want to send out your technicians to solve those problems. That's a typical Dynamics field service scenario, right? So how do we listen to it? Well, the solution for over here is IoT Central. Azure IoT Central is a SaaS application. So it's just like a Dynamics, it's a SaaS solution, it's hosted in cloud, and you can actually use it. It also comes up with the templates for industries, and they have 4 templates in there. All 4 of them are open source. So they've got retail, health, energy, and government. You can actually set it up. I set it up. I was doing it for one of our customers. And literally, I'm not joking, in 10 minutes. You can just go and select the template and get it up and running. And then you can make it talk to Dynamics using Power Automate flows. So amazing. That's tip number 3. And this is kind of a solution, how it works. You got the IoT Central in the middle, IoT devices, all the different kinds of devices. There are simple IoT devices, there are gateway devices, and there are edge devices, which have got some software in it, which makes it even more smarter. And they can talk to IoT Central, they can link to IoT Central, and IoT Central can link to Power Apps, Dynamics, Power BI. So it's really acts as a hub in between these 2 things. So it's amazing. It's very quick and easy to set it up. And leading to the 4th point, if you're looking for something more complex, like you're looking for not just talking to IoT devices, you also want to send the data back. So you're, imagine, and this is real, right? Your air conditioners, you get the signal that something is not working. The some level of some sensor is giving some error. You can configure in Dynamics field service as a command that, okay, if this happens, then we need to send this command back to air conditioner and see if that helps solving the problem. So this kind of conversation is two-way conversation. Number 2, if you're looking for a more secure solution, which is a big thing, it's a real thing that we need to make the conversation with IT devices secure. How do we do this? And if you're also looking for a lot of support in terms of programming languages like Python, etc., so you can use and talk to the devices, the solution is IoT Hub. It's an immensely powerful solution. It's really a hub, so it's a very good name. It is a hub, and it gives you a lot of options in there which you can use. It's definitely more complex than IoT Central, but it's supposed to be because that's how it gives you all those capabilities. So these two products, these were about IoT, and IoT Hub is a PaaS solution. So it's a platform as a service solution, while IoT Central was a SaaS solution. It was a software as a SaaS or service solution. Alrighty, let's move further and talk about Event Grid. So imagine you're looking for a middleware to receive events from many, many sources. So it could be like you have got some amazing event happening, like DynamicsCon, and there are so many signups coming up from everywhere possible, from Twitter, Facebook, emails, walk-ins. Imagine, right? And so literally think about you're receiving millions of those events. You cannot get them all of them into Dynamics, right? Because that will kill Dynamics. And we actually will go beyond the API limits of Dynamics, which is so basically Dynamics will stop listening, right? So you need a solution as a hub to receive all those signals and then pass them through to Dynamics, or make whatever other solution is there to listen to those events, right? So that's where Event Grid comes in. So Event Grid is that amazing thing which actually sits in the middle, and you can have all these event sources defined on the left hand side, and then you can define the event handlers. So based on the event source, you can define if this kind of event comes, and it can come from any of those sources or a custom source as well, then send this to Azure Function, or send this to Service Bus if it's integration, or send this to Dynamics, or send this for reporting, right? So you can define that. And Event Grid is like it's a powerful, powerful solution. It never goes down. It can receive literally millions and millions of events every second, and that actually makes your solution really cool. You can be sure that your solution is really scalable. So that's what Event Grid does. And going further, we're gonna talk about another exciting thing, which is AI, right? So we talked about IoT, and I'll talk about AI now. So let's say we are developing this really smart solution which can understand the email. And so emails are coming from customers. They can talk to you for so many amazing things, right? So imagine you're Microsoft, you're getting all those emails and people are talking about all those products. And then you want the system to automatically understand what kind of email is it. Is it about Office? Is it about Teams? Is it about Dynamics? Is it about Power Platform and whatever? So how do we do this? Well, the answer is Lewis, and it's a language understanding solution. It's part of Azure AI capabilities and products, and you can actually define intents in there, like what is the intent, what the email could be about, and then it will automatically learn and it will create a model, yeah, like an AI model. You can train it and you can publish it, and you can use it in Power Automate flows. So that is where you can connect it with your Dynamics, right? So you can get the email coming in, you can send it to Lewis to understand it, and then you can get the data into Dynamics. So another amazing thing which you can make to make really cool dynamic solutions. Moving on, this is how you do this. You get the sample, then you label it, and then you train it, and then you use it, and then you continuously keep developing it. So you keep learning. That's how AI works, right? Alrighty, I'll switch over to kind of this conversation to Mustajab now. Mustajab, take it away.
Okay, so what is Azure machine learning? Well, Azure machine learning, as Ali was mentioning it out, just like Louis, give us the capability to perform AI-based calculation or actions on our applications. We can enhance our application using Azure machine learning, and already someone will ask that we have that capability available in Power Platform. Yes, but when it comes to mass doing it, then Azure is our answer. So these machine learning capabilities can help us in extending our actions on voicing messages, on images, on videos, and all those stuff. Moving to the next one is Azure Functions. Why do we need Azure Functions? Well, we still have to perform mass actions, mass update, okay, mass rollout of emails to particular customers. So for that, Azure Functions can come in. They are cloud serverless applications that we have to just worry about our code, and the rest of the operations and the processing is done by the Azure cloud. How can it be done? It can be a simple visual code. It supports multiple languages, and you can use And also it's a durable function that is just like similar to workflows. So if I want to send out an email to my customers on a night, I can do that using the Azure Functions to roll out that emails. So that's the capability of Azure Functions. Now, it's a quick summary of what we have just discussed in the Azure Mega Sheet, right? So hopefully you guys are enjoying it this session. But in case if you still have any queries and questions, any points that you feel we didn't cover, we would love to hear from you in the fellow comment sections. So now, just to summarize what we just learned, right? Integrate DTCF app with multiple systems and app. Logic apps is the answer. Complex logics, when it comes, as I said, Azure Function is there. Mass rollout to customers, performing data syncing of on our core banking system from our CRM Dynamics or a FinOps to core database. This is Azure Function that is out. Azure Data Factory. If you have multiple updates that you want to perform on a data level, then Azure Data Factory is IoT. Develop quick IoT devices for IoT Central using IoT Central, IoT Hub that can be used for configuring channels, concerns about security, and all the stuff. Azure Bus Service, it's just like a centralized place where we want to integrate multiple systems and can be used to integrate with any D365 applications or any external applications as well. Event Grid, events, places, routes, and Lewis, smart application for AI if we want to have text-based analysis that we want the AI to make a decision around and take actions against. Similarly, if you want to build an API, then it's HTTP triggers. If you want to upload process files, then again it's Azure Functions. If you want to respond back to data changes, then again it's Azure Function. Cosmos DB can help you update and create that. Run schedule task is predefined Azure Functions. Create reliable message queues. We can use queue storage, service bus, and event hubs. Analyze IoT data streams. Collect process data from IoT devices using Azure Function. Process data in real time. You can use Azure Function or Signal R to respond to the data movement. And with this summary, we still have one more bonus tip, right? We discussed a lot about Azure, but I think the best way is to get ourselves certified. If we are doing something, we are learning, the best way is to get that badge of Azure Fundamental Certification. So if you had the chance to see the session, you will definitely be able to perform this Azure certification. And we still have some tips around, like if I want to prepare and give as Azure certification, what are the areas I should cover up, right? So those are, first, we should understand what are the SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS module, okay, in a Azure terminology. And if I try to explain it in an example, SaaS is all the software as applications that we are using right now on day-to-day basis. 365 business apps, Microsoft Office, SharePoint, these are all SaaS. And virtual machines are the infrastructure as service, which is where we want to use a virtual machine which has OS installed or hybrid machine. All these comes in IaaS. PaaS and platform as a service, these are Azure Functions, Azure App Services. All these things are part of the PaaS service. So this is what you need to understand first of all when I talk about Azure and I'm talking understanding the cloud. Public, hybrid, or private cloud. What does it mean? When I need a hybrid cloud, what I need a public cloud for, what I need a private cloud for. So you have to understand these concepts. It will help you in preparing the certification because the core concept of clouds are pretty much the same across the board, but it helps you to prepare for the uh, main or the complex cases. Costing plans, definitely, Azure gives you the option of pay as you go, right? And this costing plan is really important. You have to understand which costing plan I need. In Azure Function there are 3 to 4 types of costing plan, so you have to understand which costing plan is best suited for your organization. So that's what you need to understand as a consultant as well, that which costing plan will help my particular client achieve a requirement. Services, which services I want to provide to my client. Is it a network services? It is a database service like SQL data, anything, compute based services, processing or storage that are my client. So these are the basic cloud concept. If you did get a chance to understand them and read them, and where to read them, the best place is MS Learn. Once you do learn these basic concepts, it will help you to move ahead and understand the more complex cases over and more complex definition of the cloud. So moving ahead to the next point, that is understand the Azure Architect. Azure Architect is important to understand how my tenant, how my zones are managed out, how my resources are managed out, regions are managed. We need to understand that so that we know how our disaster recovery will happen, how we should plan our Azure resource group, and how much the resource should be used, and how we should enhance that if there is a need. So keeping these points in mind, it will help us understand the whole architect. Like firstly, it's the jargons that you learn that I just discussed in my previous slide. Then it's the architect that understand how Azure ecosystem is designed. This will help you understand and the basics of the Azure ecosystem, and you will be able to now go towards the more complex part. If I go to my next slide, that is what are Azure container services. Okay. Now I want to emphasize here on the microservice level. First of all, the second point, that is microservice. What are microservices? Okay, microservices are considered this way are independent services. Like like in a normal world, we have our front end of web application, we have our back end of our web application, and we have middle layer that is called the APIs that we are managing. Uh, so Microverse say that all these three applications can be managed in separate containers, and these all separate containers have the option to be enhanced scale separately. Like, and this is a really interesting fact if you consider that all of your three major areas, that is the front end, the back end, that can be a database, and the middle layer that's called APIs are being managed in separate containers. So consider this way that how easy it will be for the dev to do the deployment instead of impacting the front end. How they can scale it. For instance, my traffic load is increasing, so I need to enhance my API layer so that my front end and back end can get connected. So what I can choose? Well, this is the solution, the microverse architect, and it's one of the key architect that will really help you on the scalability of your particular app or solution that you're planning to deliver. Now, you said that okay, you already have. What are the container instances then? Well, this is one of the easiest way that you don't need to. For example, I don't have the capacity or you know visibility to procure a complete virtual machine because my system requirements need only to use a particular area where I can host my application once. So that's the container instance that you can use. You can use command line interface, Azure portal to create these new containers. So as I said, all these things are pretty much managed, jumbled up together into microservices. And as you scale, as you feel that your current application is scaling, then how do you manage that? Then you have Azure Kubernetes services. Okay, that can help you manage out these whole complete large containers that you have created in a form of scalability, in a form of making sure that the in case a node is down, in case of a container is down, it doesn't impact your work. Rather, they move it that to another server that's available for that action. So that's how these are the basic tips that we feel along with the existing information that we have shared that we feel in our current session will help you to understand the Azure ecosystem. Now moving towards the final part of our thanks again, and we would like to thanks everyone especially Dynamics community again for giving us the option and the platform to share our knowledge and experience with the rest of the world. And similarly, we would like to thank the sponsors that have given supported us in this whole event. Feel free to connect with me and Ali Khan in future as well. Here are our Twitter accounts and also our respective blogs. Looking forward for some good questions, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, hello. Hello, everyone. Good day.
Hi, everyone.
So, I think let's take up the questions. We have some good questions there, Ali. And the first question is by Naveed. Thanks, Sarah, for your praising. Appreciate that. But first question is from Naveed that if we can share some knowledge around the licensing and stuff. Would you like to take it up, Ali?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question, Naveed. And it's a very interesting question and a very useful one as well, because as you are going to be developing a solution, the first one of the major consideration is how does, from the financial perspective, is going to work for your customers. And Azure is certainly different from Dynamics. So as in Dynamics, we have got what is called a, generally speaking, for most of the Dynamics, we have got user-based licensing versus Azure, where most of in Azure's world, the licensing is based on consumption. And so that's called consumption-based licensing. It's not a kind of a universal truth, but it's mostly true for most of the services. And so what happens is basically over the world, you pay for the services that you use, and then the consumption could be in terms of the memory use. It could be in terms of how much time you are using of that server, how much data you are using. If it's in terms of AI, then how much processing power you are going to be using. And so on the base of that, there's a very cool Azure calculator on the Azure's website. So you can go and start putting in the specifications of your solution in terms of, for example, I need to use this much data, this much of storage space, this much of processing. And for example, in terms of, for example, if you're going to be parsing emails for understanding the context of that. So if you're building that AI solution, then you can start also putting in the how much of the text you are going to be parsing or using the system to parse. And on the base of that, Azure gives you the approximate cost of that. And that's an approximation. And as you go towards it, you can also set that there are very cool cost management features in your Azure subscription as well, which can tell you how you are going against that approximation. So I guess that's a kind of a very quick an overview, but I think the best place to do the cost estimation as you're working on your solution is to start with the Azure calculator, and then yeah, and then get the estimation of your cost.
Exactly.
It kind of reminded me, Mustajab, that you were talking about the certification a while ago, and I guess the cost management and SLAs and all that is part of that certification as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think if you talk about the calculator part, that it's a good way to analyze what your how your movement be. There is a operational cost versus a the initial cost of your overall movement from a in on-premise system to a cloud system that you have. The Azure gives you the option to calculate, and in when if you try to attempt the Azure fundamental certification, this particular area is covered in detail in there, which gives you an idea and to why, as per us, we say that Azure is compulsory for us, at least from our perspective, that as a consultant, as a biz app consultant as well, you should know some bits and pieces of Azure, how this works on, because it helps you to design a solution with the scalability and all the things in mind. So it's coming to one more question that was asked by a gentleman. I think his name is Jason, and he was asking all the same, like, why do we think uh, should we keep Azure expertise along with the BIS application? And as we say that, me and Ali both have extensive background when it comes to business application. Like we are been working in CRM domain for like around more than 10 years plus, and we feel now that you should know Azure a lot because it helps you not only give the right solution to the customers, but also it helps you, you know, scale your solution as per the need as well. You know, it really is easy to adopt. And I recently did the Azure fundamental certificate, and I feel that, you know, it was one of the new learning curve for me. So I will definitely suggest that we should create a new understanding around Azure certification, and along with the business application in which they can get involved too. So that's one point. And coming back to the
Can I quickly
questions,
add something on that,
please,
Mr. Job?
please. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it's a very interesting question, because see, most of the people, if we are coming from the Dynamics background, we are either were called Dynamics CRM people or Dynamics AX people, but now the platform is evolving so quickly that I guess we're wearing multiple hats anyway. We have got Dynamics hat, and we also, in many cases, we are using Power Automate and other things from Power Platform, which is the fundamental anyway. So we are wearing that hat as well. And I guess what Sujab and I are kind of advising over here is that there is also another hat of Azure there, which is worth wearing. Now, obviously, none of us, the platform and the products are evolving in a such quick way, and they're expanding vertically and horizontally, so no one can be expert of everything. It's just impossible. But I think the starting point, in terms of being able to come up with the best solution, come up with the solution which can use the right product for the right for every product, every technology, there's a time and a place for that, right? So in order to come up with the right solution, I guess the starting point, if you can do, I understand could be as a kind of a bit of a brave decision when you actually kind of start preparing for the Azure certification, because it's which Mustajab just did, because it covers a lot of that. I still have to do that, frankly, but I think that's a good starting point, because it gives you an overview of most of what's in the Azure world without going into too much of depth. But then you can start going into depth when you are working on a specific thing. Like, for example, I know what's in the Azure world, but now I'm going to be working on, let's say, Lewis. So let's go then into further depth into that area. So I guess consultancy teams across the Azure Data, AI, Dynamics, Power platform, there will be overlap if you are coming up with a big and solution, but it is worth actually exploring, at least to the point of overview of all these different technologies.
And just to your point, Ali, I recall you were discussing one more thing that was around the IoT. Like, you know, IoT was a concept sometimes around back, you know, and now it's being more of a not a concept anymore, and it's a real thing. And similarly, AI is something also part of Azure. So you know, these things are now, we if we are not aware of the capacity of our whole MS ecosystem, it can, you know, limit us providing a excellent quality solution to the customer. If I stick myself to a CRM business application, a simple example, I cannot schedule things. I have to go out of CRM to schedule things. Their Power Automate comes in, their Azure functions comes in that help me to do that, achieve that, and do mass update of data. So if we keep these knowledge, you know, I'm not saying we should take a deep dive in it, but at least we should know the basic fundamentals. And the fundamentals was introduced by Microsoft because the same reason that, you know, you don't understand what are the ups and downs of these areas or what these applications mean. So definitely it's a good way to do it. So I think yeah, I think Darylyn asked a question, and Paul pasted it as well. So that's good. uh, I think, Ali, if there is one question that was popping up in my mind, was that what typical products to be used in Dynamics project? What do you think? Can we categorize
Yeah,
some?
I guess. Yeah, I guess a couple of usual suspects, which are kind of part of most of the dynamic solution now, in my experience, have been in the in terms of processing, right? In terms of building up any complex logic, which may be interacting with not just the data which exists in Dynamics, but with other systems as well. I think I'm seeing Azure Function more and more as being used in those enterprise dynamic solutions. Same thing is true for logic apps as well. For simpler integrations, um, or for processes within Dynamics, you will use Power Automate, which is the right solution. But for the integration-based logic apps, actually play a big role, particularly when you're talking about the enterprise integration and with the Azure Service Bus and all of that. I guess, yeah, from my perspective, these two would be probably topping the list.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Azure Function, to be honest, I agree here, is more of a superstar, hidden superstar had been, born. And a lot of people and, the community are using and working on it. So it's a go area. Also, Azure AI services, the cognitive service and all those stuff are all there that we can use for our analytics, machine learning and stuff.
Yeah,
So thing is
yeah.
that it's exactly it's a good thing to start off somewhere in Azure, and maybe it can give you some new ideas and direction as well, maybe from your personal learning perspective.
Certainly.
So
Mustajab, can I ask you another kind of question that I am, as I mentioned, I haven't done the certification, which you bravely has done. So congratulations for that. But what I really wanted to understand is how to go for it. What is the best way to, how long it took you to do that? I mean, in terms of all the preparation, and what is the best way to prepare for that?
okay, so the best way to prepare for these certification is again MS Learn. The best is the starting point is the MS Learn. When I was preparing for this presentation as well, and when I had previous questions in my mind during my solution design, MS Learn was my go-to area. So that's the first one. Secondly, I did search out some good community groups and also YouTube channels over which I will definitely share the URLs on which I learned the basic. So to start off, you have to learn the basic cloud concepts. You should know how those Azure Architect is designed, how like what is region, what is does mean that is. Then you come up with security. It's important. By the way, I passed in it my second attempt. It's a fundamental program, but I failed in my first attempt. That's a disclaimer. It's not easy. It's fundamentals, but I failed in my first attempt. But did and second attempt a week after, and I got to was able to pass it out. But that's the point. Security, SLA, these are areas that we need to understand how the SLA is provided. Like 99.9%, is it okay? Yeah, it means 100%. No, it's not 100%. It has a significance meaning behind it. And when you learn the Azure fundamentals, you learn that okay, 99.99 everyone wrote there right there. It have a significance what the 0.1% means, and how that SLA is calculated if we have multiple application. So I was not aware of it, by the way. So I thought, okay, yeah, it's 99.9. Reading it out, I thought it's 100% SLA, but that's not the case. We can have failures, we can have fault tolerance issues, we can have disasters, and Azure suggests all those mechanisms. So I will definitely suggest to please go ahead, try to attempt this certification, at least the fundamentals. Rest are upon our interest and incline if you want to, but do attempt that, and it's a good learning experience. I really enjoyed it. When I think it was something new for me from business application certification coming towards Azure. It's really good to learn.
Awesome.
So
I guess one more thing I would just want to, as I was mentioning, that I'm for working on the Azure products. I think one thing that I found very useful, other than Microsoft Learn, are the a YouTube channel of Azure. That's the official channel of Azure. That's very helpful. And there's also Scott, who's been the keynote. He also has got some videos on that. So that is a very, very valuable resource to learn Azure.
So I think that's it from our side, and please everyone stay tuned. We have some more sessions coming up. DynamicsCon is not ending. Our session is ending, unfortunately, but DynamicsCon is still happening. Go ahead and uh, pick out a session for yourself. See you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having us and have a great day. Cheers.